At the start of the movie, a man named Melchior is seen running toward a van in the forest. Suddenly, someone behind him pulls out a knife and attacks him, stabbing him repeatedly before dragging him away. The scene shifts to the next morning, where a van is shown belonging to Keith, who is camping in the forest with his family. Keith prepares food, but his daughter Amy refuses to eat, distracted by a phone call. She then walks into the forest. Meanwhile, two men, Vern and Billy, who live nearby, visit Keith and his family. They ask about their friend Melchior, the man killed the previous night. Keith denies seeing anyone and insists they're just camping. However, his son Jeffrey offers the men chocolates. As they eat, Amy returns, catching Vern's attention. Vern asks to check the van, but Keith calmly declines, saying they're in a hurry. The men leave, and Keith's family quickly heads home. On the way, they encounter Vern and Billy again, fixing their car. Vern, holding a gun, asks for a ride. Although Kathleen, Keith's wife, is scared and suggests turning back, Keith drives on. Vern proposes that only Billy takes the ride while the gun stays with him. Keith reluctantly agrees, and Billy joins them in the van. Inside, Billy chats with Jeffrey and notices a notebook that belonged to his missing friend Melchior. Before he can react, Jeffrey stabs him with 2 forks, killing him. The family dismembers Billy and stores the pieces in the freezer to use as food. Kathleen gives one of Billy's eyes to Amy, causing a jealous Jeffrey to question why. Kathleen explains that Amy has better self-control and doesn't harm without reason. When Billy's phone rings, Keith angrily destroys it. Later, the family arrives at Billy's house, pretending their van is broken. Julie, Billy's sister, answers the door, but her sister Savannah suggests they find lodging in town. Kathleen lies, saying Billy directed them to his house. Hearing this, the sisters allow them in and offer food, but Keith's family, used to eating human flesh, dislikes it. Keith asks to use the phone, but Neville, Billy's uncle, explains that the only phone is with Billy. Savannah grows suspicious and questions why Billy hasn't returned home. Kathleen claims Billy was walking back to help a friend and only gave them the address. Savannah's persistent questions irritate them, and they prepare to attack her, but a knock on the door interrupts. A man named Big Mac, Julie's fiancé, enters. His imposing presence intimidates Keith's family, who quickly hide their weapons, realizing he's not someone they can easily confront. Afterward, we see Vern, who was left stranded on the road in the forest. He keeps calling Billy, but Billy's phone is off. Vern starts to get nervous, and a policeman named Deputy White arrives and offers him a ride. However, Vern refuses because he doesn't trust the policeman. He also tells Deputy White that Billy went home with a family who came from Los Angeles and will be coming back to pick him up soon. Once Deputy White leaves, Vern suddenly starts vomiting, realizing the chocolate Jeffrey gave him might have been the cause. Meanwhile, at Billy's house, Amy goes to the bathroom and accidentally drops Billy's eye without realizing it. When she comes out, she sees Savannah standing outside the bathroom. Amy begins to feel an unusual attraction to Savannah, almost like a romantic connection. Just then, Julie arrives and tells Savannah and Amy that it's time to go to sleep. Before heading to bed, Savannah plays the piano, and Amy is visibly impressed. After that, everyone goes to their respective rooms to sleep. In their room, Kathleen expresses her concern to Keith. She says she doesn't feel comfortable killing this family because they have always followed a strict rule. They only kill people who are a burden to society or those who do bad things. They have never killed an innocent family before, and now they're about to break that rule. Keith reassures Kathleen, telling her not to worry and arguing that this family has no real purpose in life, so it's justified. Later, Keith has a conversation with Jeffrey. He tells Jeffrey that he believes Jeffrey is dangerous and instructs him to kill Julie while Keith handles Big Mac, as Big Mac is a strong man. Keith tells Jeffrey to wait for his signal to avoid causing unnecessary chaos. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Vern takes his shotgun and begins walking toward the house. At the same time, Amy is in Savannah's room, looking at Savannah's awards for marksmanship. The two girls are having fun in the room, laughing and talking. Meanwhile, Julie is in the bathroom, feeling unwell and vomiting. Big Mac also begins feeling sick and heads to the bathroom, but Julie refuses to open the door, saying she's not feeling well. Frustrated, Big Mac goes outside to vomit. Meanwhile, Keith sneaks into Neville's room to kill him. At the same time, Jeffrey attacks Big Mac while he is vomiting outside. Jeffrey stabs Big Mac in the leg, and when Big Mac turns to defend himself, Jeffrey stabs him in the chest and then slits his throat, killing him. Keith watches this from Neville's room window. When Neville notices Keith, he tries to scream, but Keith silences him by killing him with an axe. Keith storms out of the house and angrily confronts Jeffrey for acting prematurely. However, Keith eventually praises Jeffrey for easily defeating the strongest threat and decides to reward him by giving him Big Mac's tongue. Meanwhile, Amy and Savannah are still in Savannah's room, having fun. Suddenly, Amy tries to kill Savannah with a knife, but Savannah is unaware of her intentions. When Savannah accidentally pushes Amy, the knife wounds Amy instead. Seeing Amy injured, Savannah panics and quickly bandages her wound. Amy feels guilty about wanting to harm Savannah, especially after realizing how much Savannah genuinely cared for her. Savannah then leaves the house to get a first aid kit for Amy. While retrieving the kit from the warehouse, Savannah notices Keith's van. Curious, she goes inside and finds Big Mac's body. Horrified, Savannah realizes that Keith's entire family are serial killers and that they have come to kill her family. Meanwhile, Julie discovers Billy's eye in the bathroom, which Amy had accidentally dropped earlier. Sensing that something is wrong, she goes to Neville's room and finds his lifeless body. Shocked, Julie screams, but Keith quickly covers her mouth and takes her to Kathleen. Keith orders Kathleen to kill Julie, but Kathleen hesitates, unable to go through with it. Before she can act, Savannah arrives and shoots an arrow into Kathleen's neck, having armed herself after uncovering the truth. Amy hears the commotion and rushes to the scene, only to find her mother dead. Devastated, Amy breaks down and regrets not killing Savannah earlier, believing that her mother might still be alive if she had acted sooner. However, it's not too late for the rest of the family to escape. They decide to kill the girls and then set the house on fire before leaving. To force Savannah out, they begin torturing Julie, hoping she will come to save her sister. Meanwhile, Savannah quickly goes to her room, grabs a phone, and tries to call Deputy White. Unfortunately, Deputy White doesn't pick up her call. As Savannah hears some noise, she hides behind the door. At the same time, Deputy White is seen calling his boss to get permission to visit Billy's house and investigate. Savannah then arrives at the scene and cleverly takes Jeffrey hostage by holding a knife to his neck. She threatens to kill him, but Keith counters by grabbing Julie and holding a knife to her neck. Savannah, knowing she doesn't want to kill anyone and realizing the family is merciless, reluctantly lets Jeffrey go to save her sister. Afterward, Keith and Jeffrey tie up the girls, as Keith is determined to take revenge for Kathleen's death. They begin torturing the sisters, and Keith brings out Big Mac's fried tongue, forcing them to eat it. When Julie refuses, Keith cruelly cuts her thumb and then approaches Savannah, demanding she eat the tongue. To distract Keith, Savannah taunts him by revealing that his daughter, Amy, is interested in girls, something he had no idea about. This revelation drives Keith into a rage, and he begins fighting with Amy. This gives Savannah enough time to free herself. Once Savannah's hands are untied, she quickly grabs a fork and stabs Keith in the eye. Amy, seeing this, tackles Savannah and pins her down. Keith, despite being injured, gruesomely pulls the fork out of his eye and eats it, showing his psychotic nature. As this chaos unfolds, Vern arrives at Billy's house. Realizing something is amiss, Vern jumps in and begins fighting with Keith. Outside, Jeffrey is pouring kerosene oil around the house. Hearing the commotion inside, he rushes in, momentarily distracting Vern. Keith uses this opportunity to hit Vern on the head with a flower pot. Meanwhile, Jeffrey goes after Savannah, chasing her into the kitchen. Savannah defends herself by burning Jeffrey's hand on the stove and throwing boiling water on his face. She then manages to kill him by strangling him with a stick. Back in the living room, Vern fights back against Keith despite his injuries. However, Keith overpowers Vern and ultimately kills him by stabbing him in the head. Just when Keith believes he's won, Julie sneaks up behind him and strikes him hard on the head with a hammer, killing him. Afterward, the sisters find each other and breathe a sigh of relief. But suddenly, Amy sneaks up behind Julie and stabs her to death. Savannah and Amy then engage in a brutal fight. Savannah tries to strike Amy with the hammer, but Amy escapes outside to protect herself. Savannah chases after her, determined to finish the fight. Just as Savannah is about to strike Amy with the hammer, Deputy White arrives and shoots Savannah, believing that Amy's family is innocent and the villagers are the true killers. Deputy White reports back to his headquarters, claiming that the villagers killed the innocent tourist family. While making his report, He notices the van parked nearby. Suspecting something, he pulls out his gun and begins walking toward the van. As he is about to inspect it, Amy sneaks up behind him and kills him too. With everyone dead and no one left to stop her, Amy takes her family's van and sets the house on fire to destroy any evidence. Then, she drives away in the van, leaving the chaos behind.